नमस्कार श्री Ramakrishna Kathamrita Kathamritam Tapजीवनम कविभिरीडितं कल्मषापहं श्रवणमंगलं श्रीमदादतं भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जनाः Sri Ramakrishna Kathamrita प्रथम भाग तृतीय खंडो and the last portion of seventh chapter, the Shoptam Puriched. And Sri Ramakrishna has spoken about so many things in this particular seventh chapter about splendors of God. Let us not get into so many botherations about how God is wonderful are the splendors of the God and all that. Just love Him. That's it. That is our vision. And then in our previous reading, Sri Ramakrishna, when he was asked by that Brahmo devotee, do you believe in rebirth? And very politely, Sri Ramakrishna said, yes, I have heard about, yes, there is something called as rebirth, and so many people have spoken about it. So many great saints have said about it. So I tend to believe that, yes, there is. But then Sri Ramakrishna also said, but then who can understand the ways of God? What all is there in this universe? What all ways God plays His Leela? How can we comprehend? He said, we just cannot. And then to make this point clear, to emphasize on this point that it is beyond our intellect to comprehend the ways of the Lord. He told us that story of Pitamaha Bhishma, that lying on the deathbed of arrows when Pandavas and Krishna were standing beside him, there were tears flowing from Bhishma's eyes, and Arjuna in wonderment telling Krishna that, look, Krishna, Pitamaha Bhishma is crying on deathbed. Deluded by Maya, he is now afraid of death. And Sri Krishna, who knew the reason behind it, he asked, he told Pitama Bhishma about what Arjuna had said. And then Pitama Bhishma had told, no, my dear friend, my dear Krishna, you yourself know the reason. I'm not crying because of that. My tears are I'm not able to comprehend the ways of the Lord, the way He plays His Leela. That being a constant companion, being a constant well-wisher of the Pandavas, there is no end to struggle, to grief, to sorrows, to miseries of these Pandavas, who are accompanied by the Lord 24/7. Those Pandavas, all through their lives, they just underwent misery, they just underwent sorrows. And now, in this war of Mahabharata, although Krishna is very much on the side of Pandavas, Krishna is the charioteer of Arjuna, and still there is no end to the grief of Pandavas. All their sons, all their relatives, they got killed in this war. So Bhishma says, I am unable to comprehend, and that's why I am crying. The tears are for that. And with that, actually, the talk part, the conversation part between Sri Ramakrishna and the Brahmos came to an end. And then there was the devotional singing and chanting of the name. Kirtananando Bhakti. Now, all these, if we remember, this is what all the devotees, we had read it earlier in the initial portions of this particular Tritiyo Khando, that all the devotees, they were keenly waiting arrival of Sri Ramakrishna because they knew there will be such a wonderful devotional talk, there will be devotional singing, and they all wanted to see Sri Ramakrishna in that mood of devotional singing. And that time has now come. Kirtananando, the joy of devotional singing, the bliss of devotional singing with the devotees. Now, this is now typical M's the style of writing. Beautiful wordings as such. Samaj Gruhe, Eibar, Shandhya Kalin, Upasana Hoilo. Now, the evening worship becomes in the hall of the Samaj, at Brahmo Samaj. The hall which is there in the garden house of Beni Madhav Pal. Now, there the evening worship has started because this is a semi-annual religious festival of Brahmos, which they conduct twice, 2 times in a year. Ratri Prayo Sade Atta, almost 8:30 in the night. সন্ধ্যার 4-5 দৌড়ের পর রাত্রি জ্যোৎস্নাময়ী হইল. Now, after about 4 or 5 dandas. Now, dandas is actually it is a Indian way of calculating the time. It is called as the ghatika. In the typical Indian this thing in Bengali it is called as danda, which is actually according to Vedic astrological calculations, the science, the 24 hours of the day are divided into 60 dandas. So 24 divided by 60 into 24. So that is 24 minutes is one danda. So after 4 or 5 dandas, so 24 into 4, 96 and 120 minutes roughly, the moon comes up in the sky. So after the time he has indicated is about 8:30, so maybe after another 100-120 minutes, moon will come up in the sky. 4-5 দৌড়ের পর রাত্রি জ্যোৎস্নাময়ী হইল. জ্যোৎস্নাময়ী is the moonlight. উদ্যানের বৃক্ষরাজি লতা পল্লব শরৎচন্দ্রের বিমল কিরণে যেন ভাসিতে লাগিল. এদিকে সমাজ গৃহে সংকীর্তন আরম্ভ হইয়াছে. And now he says, the trees and leaves of the creepers in the garden, as if they are floating in the moonlight, in the moonlight of this beautiful autumn night. Sharat Chandrer. Sharat is autumn, Chandra is moon. So in this beautiful autumn moonlight, as if the trees and the leaves of the creepers, as if they have started floating. উদ্যানের বৃক্ষরাজি লতা পল্লব শরৎচন্দ্রের বিমল করণে যেন ভাসিতে লাগল. এদিকে that time during this is what is happening outside. The leaves of trees and creepers, they are all floating in the beautiful autumn moonlight, and at this time এদিকে সমাজ গৃহে সংকীর্তন আরম্ভ হইয়াছে. At this time outside is that scenario. They are all floating in the wonderful moonlight, and inside the hall of this Brahmo Samaj, now there is going to be a devotional singing and dancing. Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna হরি প্রেমে মাতয়ারা হইয়া নাচিতেছেন. Maddened in the love of the Lord, Lord Sri Ramakrishna is in that divine emotional spirit. He has started dancing. in that divine intoxicated state, Sri Ramakrishna has Matoyara, Huri Preme Matoyara. The intoxication in the divine Lord's love. Sri Ramakrishna has started dancing. Brahma Bhaktira, Khol Kortali Loya, Tahake Birya Birya Nachitechen. And all the Brahmo devotees taking the khol, it is like a drum, and cymbals, which is to be uh, played, taking in the hands, and the two round circular discs. And then some people are playing dhol, the drums, and some people are playing cymbals and encircling Sri Ramakrishna and dancing. Sri Ramakrishna is dancing in the center, and surrounding him all the Brahma devotees, some of them with the drums, some of them with the cymbals, they are all dancing, encircling him. Shokule bhabe motto. Everyone is intoxicated in that divine mood, divine emotion. সকলের ভাবে মত্ত যেন শ্রী ভগবানের সাক্ষাৎকার লাভ করিয়াছেন, as if they have had a direct vision of the realization of the Lord himself. And in that divinely intoxicated state, they are all dancing around Sri Ramakrishna. হরিনামের রোল উত্তরোত্তর উঠিতেছে. The sound of the chanting of Lord's name, Hari Bol, something like that. It is just that sound is ever increasing in its tone. And চারিদিকে গ্রামবাসীরা হরিনাম শুনিতেছেন, আর মনে মনে উদ্যান স্বামী ভক্ত বেণু মাধবকে কতই ধন্যবাদ দিতেছেন. Now, the villagers in all four directions of that garden house, they are enjoying this, although they are not present there, but they are listening to that devotional singing in their adjoining villages in all the four directions. And mone mone, and mentally they are feeling themselves to be so thankful. Thankful to whom? Dan Shami Bhakto Vedu Madhavke. They are all feeling highly, their minds filled with gratitude. They are so thankful to the owner of this garden house, Beni Madhav Pal, devotee Beni Madhav, Bhaktati Beni Madhavke. They are all so grateful, the villagers in the surrounding areas, all the four directions, that because of him, we are enjoying this blissful moment of listening to the chanting of Lord's name. And they could hear that noise of cymbals and drums, and they could visualize probably the devotees dancing and circling Sri Ramakrishna in that divine intoxicated state. Now, this is how the divine singing and dancing went on in that hall for some time. And then কীর্তনান্তে শ্রী রামকৃষ্ণ ভূমিষ্ঠ হইয়া জগন্মাতাকে প্রণাম করিতেছেন. Now, the divine singing and dancing is all over. Everyone is filled with that divine bliss. They have partaken great moment of dancing and singing, encircling Sri Ramakrishna. And finally, the divine dancing and singing is over, and now Sri Ramakrishna bhumishta huya. He just lays down on the ground and prostrates on the ground and Jogon Mata ke pranam koriteche and is offering his salutations to the Divine Mother, Mother of the Universe. Pranam korite korite bolitechen. And while he is just prostrating himself and offering salutations to the Universal Mother, to the Divine Mother, he is uttering these words. He is making this prayer to Divine Mother. Bhagvat Bhakto Bhagavan. Now he says, now Sri Ramakrishna says, Bhagavad is the scriptural text where Lord Vishnu's entire life story is mentioned. It is a Bhagavad Puran. So he says, Bhagavad, Bhakta, and Bhagavan. These three, Sri Ramakrishna is very fond of using this terminology. According to him, the Bhagavad, that we read the scripture, Lord's name, which has the Lord's name, which has the stories about the Lords, which has life of Lord. Bhagavad. Who reads it? Bhakta reads it, the devotee. So, scripture, the devotee, and Bhagwan, the Lord himself. This is, they're all one actually. The scripture, the devotee, and the Lord himself. So now Sri Ramakrishna is offering his prayers to all these now. Bhagavad, Bhagwan. And then Ganir Chorone Pranam. My salutations to all those who have attained ultimate knowledge. Salutations at the feet of the devotee, of the jnanis, and salutations also Bhakter Chorone Pranam. Salutations at the feet of devotees. Look, Sri Ramakrishna offering salutations to the all Gnanis, devotees, and among devotees, Shakar Badi Bhakter, Nirakar Badi Bhakter Chorone Pranam. My salutations to the devotees who believe in God with form and also to the devotees who believe in God without form. Because in this particular section, first initial chapters, there was the discussion of Sakar and Nirakar. There was the discussion of the form, God with form and God without form. And Sri Ramakrishna had said, both are true. And then he had given that example of how in the huge ocean, because of the impact of devotion, some water which is actually in liquid form, because of the devotional mood, it takes form of ice. Likewise, because of the coolness of the devotion. Sri Ramakrishna says, although we see ice cubes in sea because of the extreme cold condition in that particular portion. So Sri Ramakrishna equates that ice formation in the water of ocean to God taking form in the waters, in the life of a devotee. With his coldness of the devotion, God has to take form. So, the one which is formless is the form. That is what Sri Ramakrishna, and therefore Sri Ramakrishna at the end of this entire festivities, he is offering prayers to the devotees who believe in God with form, Sakarvadi, as well as devotees who are Nirakarvadi, who believe in formless God. Agekar Brahmogani Der Churune. My salutations to the feet of the Brahmajnanis, the knowers of Brahman of the ancient times. The seers who are mentioned in the Upanishads and Puranas. So Sri Ramakrishna is offering salutations at the feet of those knowers of Brahman in the ancient times, as well as Brahmo Samajer Idani Brahmatnanider Charone Pranam. And in today's Brahmatnani in the form of followers of Brahma Samaj. Because followers of Brahma Samaj consider themselves to be also Brahmatyanis, and therefore Sri Ramakrishna differentiates between those Brahmatyanis of the ancient times as mentioned in the Upanishads. Yajnavalkya and Maitreyi and Gargi and those Brahmatyanis. He offers salutations to Brahmatyanis of that era, as well as offering salutations at the feet of Brahmadhyanis of today. And who are Brahmadhyanis of today? The followers of Brahmo Samaj. So, all those, Sri Ramakrishna finally laying prostrate on the ground, offering prayers to the whole Divine Mother, the Universal Mother, to the Mother of the Universe, seeking uh, benefit, seeking well-being for everyone, and offering pranams, offering salutations at the feet of all these. Now, the function has finally come to an end. Vini Madhav নানাবিধ উপাদে খাদ্যে আয়োজন করিয়াছিলেন, সমবেত সকল ভক্তকে পরিতোষ করিয়া খাওয়াইলেন. Now, Veni Madhav, the owner of this garden house, what he has done, he has arranged, provided various kinds of delicious preparations, food preparations for the enjoyment of the assembled devotees. Upadaya Khadya. Upadaya is delicious, tempting. He has arranged delicious food preparations for the enjoyment of all these devotees who have gathered here to attend the semi-annual festivities of Brahmo Samaj. Sri Ramakrishna Bhakta Sange Boshiya Ananda Kurite Kurite Prasad Grohan Korile. And Sri Ramakrishna also sitting with all the devotees, Shivnath Shastri and all other Brahmo devotees, he happily in full filled with joy, he is also partaking this portion of prasad in the company of Brahmo devotees. So we had such a beautiful session of semi-annual function celebrations of the Brahmo Samaj at Beni Madhav Paul's in the house. We got to learn so many things from Sri Ramakrishna during this particular function, during these celebrations about God with form, God without form, and also we came across so many other things like there is no need to look into the intricate complexities of creation of the Lord, which are His splendors. There is no need to go about it. And then, of course, the entire thing was on Sakar and Nirakar. And then Sri Ramakrishna also told us about 7 planes, how the mind travels from one plane to another, and as the mind comes up to the level of the heart, the 4th plane, leaving aside the worldly entanglements and enjoyments of Kamini Kanchon in the lower 3 planes, as the mind comes up on the level of heart and then starts coming up, finally is the Samadhi in the 7th plane. Sri Ramakrishna says that till this 6th plane of Ajna, the I doesn't go. And when the I goes, it is here that person gets into Samadhi, and then in 21 days the body falls off. And then Sri Thakur also has explained us How some people, the eternal teachers and divine incarnations like Narada, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, like Sri Ramakrishna himself, how they can retain their bodies and body consciousness even after retaining samadhi. That is to teach the people the path of spirituality, to provide them light so that they can find that way and don't stumble in the darkness. That is the reason why these great saints and great souls, they can retain the body even after attaining samadhi. And then finally, Sri Ramakrishna uh, told us about that splendors of God. Let us not get into all those intricacies. God's creation, yes, just love God for the love's sake and be happy with that. Don't ask all those details. How many universes he has created, how many, the Milky Ways he has created. We don't need all that information. How many stars are there? How many moons are there? How many planets are there? We don't know to need. There is no need to know all those things. We just need love for God. And that's what Sri Ramakrishna had told us all along. And then finally, of course, he spoke about the ways of Lord, that we are not able to understand the ways. So forget about it. Just be a devotee. Just look at the Leela of the God and be happy with it. Feel your bliss in the devotion for the Lord. So that is how this Tritiyo Khondo has come to an end, and then we are going to start the Chaturtha Khondo next, of this Pratham Bhag, and that Chaturtha Khondo is going to be Sri Juk Vijay Krishna Goswami O Anyanya Brahmo Bhakte Prati Thakur Sri Ramakrishna Upadesh. Vijay Krishna Goswami we have already met during our steamer ride with Keshav Chandra Sen. Vijay had accompanied Sri Ramakrishna, and there was some kind of a hesitation when these two friends turned foes. They came face to face in presence of Sri Ramakrishna. Now, in the next uh, section, the fourth section, we are going to read about the advice, the conversation, instructions given to Vijay Krishna Goswami and other Brahmo devotees of his Brahmo section. So that is going to be another very interesting section to read. And that is all for the moment now. With the third chapter over, we all just get start remembering, start thinking about what all Sri Thakur, Sri Ramakrishna has taught us from the second section till the third section. And this reading we end up here today. Next, fourth section will start. Om Namah Shri Bhagavate Ramakrishnaaya. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Jai Thakur, Jai Swamiji.